Whoops. It's video game logic? Don't question it. Hey there. It's been a little while. I was meaning to appease the algorithm earlier, but I spontaneously went on a holiday for love, so here I am now. After I made the previous devlog, I participated in the Ludum Dare Game Jam, which happens twice a year. Sometimes, a jam game might be turned into a real game afterwards if it gets a positive reception. So that gave me the idea to try the reverse, sort of. I wanted to use this as an opportunity to test the waters with my potential audience and gain some followers. I knew there were people out there who fondly remembered Motherload, the inspiration to my game, but I had no idea how to attract an audience. So I made a digging game from scratch, with my love writing a story with some art, and synthesist Ricky Summer composing the music and creating sounds. As is usual for me, I flunked an entire day of the 3-day weekend that we had for the jam, so the features had to be cut down a lot. Oops. But hey, I was totally right. Look at all these Motherload enjoyers. I've never had so many people responding to my jam games before. There's not too much to say about the jam game itself. I did get some valuable feedback and learned that the controls will have to be real tight for the actual game, plus a few other things. We used the name HyperDig for one of the two companies featured in the jam game, though it didn't come into play much. I really liked the name, however, so now I intend to use it as the title for the real game. Now I'm conscious of making a game fitting of the name, but that's a fun motivation to have. I had a lot going on this past month, but I still made some decent progress on the game. Here are a few screenshots. I've added a fuel station, a place for selling minerals, and an upgrade shop. Please excuse the programmer graphics. I'll make some neat models for the buildings soon. Still gotta make a proper digging machine too. With this, I'm more or less on the same functional level as the original Motherload game. Of course, my game is missing a lot of polish, and there's no story yet, so that's coming soon. I've added those rounded edges to the tunnels, making them look much more organic. And what's this? Fog of War, you might say. I definitely want this to be a feature, but I'm toying around with the specifics. I'll tell you more about it later in the video. Here are a few screenshots of me working on it. I had fun seeing it malfunction, so I wanted to share. I have been thinking about the strengths and weaknesses of Motherload. One thing that popped out to me is the longevity. As much fun as it is to dig a big long tunnel, it does have its limits. Eventually, it becomes boring to go up and down constantly. The game tried to spice things up a little bit with the earthquakes, but it felt more annoying than interesting. Unless it revealed some special treasure you missed earlier, but even that was kind of rare, and it does not make it worth the headache of fixing the tunnel constantly. I'm not entirely against the idea of earthquakes, and I definitely want to experiment with things like building a little base underground as a stopgap, or building protection for your main shaft, so that an earthquake would not harm it, but I do think these might become tedious too. I'll know better once I've tried it. I'm heavily leaning in the direction of cutting down on session time, however, which would solve the issue of long travel up and down and has the potential to keep things interesting and varied. And how would I achieve that? Well, roguelike or roguelite games have a number of principles that could apply to this game really well, in my opinion. Usually their sessions are shorter. Death is not extremely punishing, and you still feel like you've made progress even if you die. In fact, death is often the expected outcome of a session. That all sounds good to me in the context of a digging game. I want to try making worlds that don't go very deep, though I would still allow it if that was the player's preference. In this way I could focus on having a rich selection of worlds and different kinds of environmental factors that could keep things interesting, encouraging the player to play again and again. I don't want to mess too much with the way the game controls, so it's a little tricky to make those differences meaningful, but I'm determined to make it work if it feels right. Let's go over some ideas I've had for different worlds. Sand? That's right. Desert worlds would have a slight twist to the way you dig. I'm thinking there will be sandstone blocks, which act like regular dirt, but there would also be loose sand blocks, which could fall like they do in Minecraft. So you need to account for that while you dig your tunnels to avoid getting crushed or trapped, having to spend extra fuel digging your way out. I teased the ice world in my previous video. I have a couple of ideas for this one. A heat mechanic is an obvious candidate. Perhaps fuel is not the only thing you'd have to worry about. But then, it may be too similar to managing fuel if you have to return to base to warm up, so I'll think about it. The other idea I had was falling icicles, perhaps entire ice blocks that fall and explode into shards that could damage you if you're near. I stand firmly by the idea that enemies aren't a good fit for this kind of game, but I'm happy to experiment with environmental hazards, because the player would be in control of that. And by letting the player choose which type of world to embark on, they can avoid worlds that they don't like playing so much. I would still encourage playing all the worlds to unlock everything, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. What about this one? Moon digging? Or asteroids? Whatever, it's great. You might think low gravity is a good fit. I'm very apprehensive about the idea of affecting the player controls though. I'm sure I'll come up with something like upsetting dust that would affect your vision in a way that's not too annoying. Perhaps it doesn't even have to have a new mechanic. I'm sure people would be happy to see an asteroid world as an option and know that it will result in a short session they can finish during their coffee break. Or something like that. I have several other ideas for visual variety, but I haven't gotten that far with the graphics yet. Obviously, the game needs lava worlds. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. There could be underground jungles where the vegetation will grow into your tunnels, requiring you to manage the edges somehow. A mountain world is another idea to change the up and down gameplay to left and right. You'd be going outwards, not downwards for minerals. I'm even thinking about a water world, oxygen being a potential gimmick. It would be kind of cool if you had to use pockets of air in your tunnels to replenish that and allow yourself to go deeper. It could break up the monotony of a straight tunnel too. So, why would the player bother with these worlds with the extra challenges in them? First of all, I want to offer a choice to the player. Maybe not all at once, but something random. But yeah, I will have to think about a reward to engage with as many of these worlds as possible. Many roguelikes use item unlocks as a form of progression. Roguelites even let you keep some things between sessions, but I'm not sure how or if that would fit my game. Either way, unlocks have big potential. Perhaps you find other miners' machines buried deep underground, unlocking items they had fitted to their diggers, schematics for better upgrades, maybe even cosmetics. Let's talk about Fog of War a bit more in depth. I feel some players will dislike it and others will love it, so I want some worlds to have no Fog of War, some others to have it begin below a certain depth, and some worlds could even have the fog come back after it goes out of range. You would get a scanner to help you fight the fog. Check this out. Bling! How cool is that? Anyway, that's all for now. I wanted to let you know I'm starting a Discord server to invite more nuanced discussions. I want to hear your thoughts and ideas on all this. I'll be sharing some screenshots and smaller updates too before they are revealed in the next devlog. You can find the link in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another devlog soon. Ish.